Namaskar. A warm welcome to World News, an Indian perspective on All India Radio. This is Renuka, and with me is Nishit Kumar, bringing glimpses of major developments of the day from across the globe. Over the next half an hour, we shall bring you the latest from the world of politics, economy, sports, entertainment, and more. As the world fights the COVID-19 pandemic, we begin with a message of caution to stay safe and protected by following these 3 simple steps. Wear a face mask, maintain social distancing, focus on hand and face hygiene. The headlines. India announces a budget to provide thrust to a resurgent economy emerging from the pandemic. Markets react positively to Budget 2021. Prime Minister Narendra Modi assures Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu highest importance to safeguard Israeli diplomats. Says perpetrators of terror attack would be punished. Myanmar military seizes power. State Councillor Aung San Suu Kyi detained as military announces emergency for 1 year. World leaders express shock over development in Myanmar. United Nations terms it a serious blow to democratic reforms. Fate of 16 Indian sailors aboard MV Anesthesia hangs in the balance as China remains non-committal on crew change for the ship. India's Finance Minister Nirmala Sitharaman presented the Union Budget 2021-22 today in the Parliament. Quoting the celebrated Indian poet Rabindranath Tagore, Ms. Sitharaman said, "Faith is the bird that feels the light and sings when the dawn is still dark." She began the budget presentation saying that the budget this time was prepared in unprecedented circumstances. Prime Minister Narendra Modi has said that this budget will bring a lot of positive changes in industry, investors and infrastructure sectors. Calling it historic, Mr. Modi said the vision of self-reliance can be seen in the budget. He said the proactive budget, which focuses on health and wellness, will help all. Mr. Modi said the budget will also generate employment opportunities for the youth.
आज के बजट में आत्मनिर्भरता का विजन भी है और हर नागरिक, हर वर्ग का समावेश भी है। हम इस बजट में जिन सिद्धांतों को लेकर चले हैं वो है ग्रोथ के लिए नए अवसरों, नई संभावनाओं का विस्तार करना, युवाओं के लिए नए अवसरों का निर्माण करना, मानव संसाधन को एक नया आयाम देना, इंफ्रास्ट्रक्चर निर्माण के लिए नए नए क्षेत्रों को विकसित करना, आधुनिकता की तरफ आगे बढ़ना, नए सुधार लाना.
The Prime Minister said several changes have been made which is set to help growth and job creation in the country. He said this budget has categorically made announcements to ease and make lives of women better. Mr. Modi said the government has taken the approach of widening new opportunities for growth, new openings for youth, a new high to human resources, develop new regions for infrastructure, working towards technology and bring new reforms in this budget. The Prime Minister said this budget focuses on sectors that are related to both wealth and wellness. A special focus has also been on infrastructure and MSMEs. He said the budget for MSME has seen an increase of more than double compared to last year. The government, while keeping in sync with fiscal sustainability, stressed on increasing the budget size and did not put pressure on the citizens. Finance Minister Nirmala Sitharaman had presented the Economic Survey for 2020-21 in the Parliament on Friday. The Economic Survey projects India's real GDP to record 11% growth in financial year 2021-22 and nominal GDP to grow by 15.4%, the highest since independence. A report from our correspondent.
The Economic Survey states that the fundamentals of the economy remain strong as gradual scaling back of lockdowns along with astute support of Atmanirbhar Bharat mission have placed the economy firmly on the path of revival. As per IMF, India is expected to emerge as the fastest growing economy in the next 2 years. India remained a preferred investment destination in financial year 2020-21. with FDI pouring in amidst global asset shifts towards equities and prospects of quicker recovery in emerging economies. Economic survey shows Ayushman Bharat has led to improved health outcomes, saving lives and livelihoods, and resulting in various direct and spillover effects. It has strongly recommended an increase in public spending on healthcare services from 1% to 2.5 to 3% of GDP as envisaged in the National Health Policy 2017. It notes that this can significantly reduce the out-of-pocket expenditure from 65% to 35% of the overall healthcare spend. With Anand Kumar, Anupam Mishra, AR News, Delhi.
The Union Budget 2021-22 proposed a slew of measures to make India an attractive destination for foreign investors. Providing a thrust to the infrastructure sector, the Finance Minister, Nirmala Sitharaman, proposed the setting up of a development financial institution.
Infrastructure needs long-term debt financing. A professionally managed development financial institution is necessary to act as a provider, enabler, and catalyst for infrastructure financing. Accordingly, I shall introduce a bill to set up a development financial institution. I have provided a sum of 20,000 crore rupees to capitalize this institution. The ambition is to have a lending portfolio of at least 5 lakh crores for this DFI within 3 years' time. Debt financing of InvITs and REITs by foreign portfolio investors will be enabled by making suitable amendments in the relevant legislation. This will further ease access of finance to InvITs and REITs, thus augmenting funds for infrastructure and real estate sectors.
The budget also sought to facilitate the non-resident Indian community on the issue of accrued incomes.
When non-resident Indians return to India, they have issues with respect to their accrued income in their foreign retirement accounts. This is usually due to mismatch in taxation periods. They also face difficulties in getting credit for Indian taxes in foreign jurisdictions. I propose to notify rules for removing their hardship of double taxation.
The budget also sought to remove the genuine hardship faced by the NRIs in respect of their income accrued on foreign retirement benefit account due to mismatch in taxation. It proposed to notify rules for aligning the taxation of income arising on foreign retirement benefit account. The budget also increased the cap on FDI investment into the insurance sector.
I propose to amend the Insurance Act 1938 to increase the permissible FDI limit from 49% to 74% in insurance companies and allow foreign ownership and control with safeguards. Under the new structure, the majority of directors on the board and key management persons would be resident Indians, with at least 50% of directors being independent directors and specified percentage of profits being retained as general reserve.
To attract sovereign wealth funds to invest in India, Ms. Sitharaman announced several measures.
In the last budget, for attracting foreign investment in the infrastructure sector, we had granted 100% tax exemption, subject to certain conditions, to foreign sovereign wealth funds and pension funds on their income from investment in Indian infrastructure. We have noticed that few of such funds are facing difficulties in meeting some of the conditions. In order to ensure that a large number of funds invest in India, I propose to relax some of these conditions relating to prohibition on private funding, restriction on commercial activities, and direct investment in infrastructure. In order to allow funding of infrastructure by issue of zero-coupon bonds, I propose to make notified infrastructure debt funds eligible to raise funds by issuing tax-efficient zero-coupon bonds.
The International Financial Services Centre, IFSC, in Gift City is a proposal to make India a global financial hub. Today's budget made certain proposals to attract foreign investment into the project.
The government is committed to making the International Financial Services Center in GIFT City a global financial hub. In addition to the tax incentives already provided, I propose to include, among others, tax holiday for capital gains for aircraft leasing companies, tax exemption for aircraft lease rentals paid to foreign lessors, tax incentive for relocating foreign funds in the IFSC, and to allow tax exemption to the investment division of foreign banks located in the IFSC.
The budget also proposed to relax some of the conditions for availing 100% tax exemption introduced in the last budget to promote sovereign wealth funds and pension funds. The conditions which are proposed to be relaxed include prohibition on loans or borrowings, restriction on commercial activities, direct investment in entity owning infrastructure, amongst others. Union Road Transport and Highways Minister Nitin Gadkari welcomed the voluntary vehicle scrappage policy announced in the Union budget today. Information and Broadcasting Minister Prakash Javadekar said this budget fulfills the aspirations of all sections of society. Reacting on the Union budget, Uttar Pradesh Chief Minister Yogi Adityanath said that this budget is not only for fulfilling the aspirations of the countrymen and dreams of the common man, but also an important step towards making country a strong and prosperous nation. JDU President and Bihar Chief Minister Nitish Kumar congratulated the centre for coming out with a balanced union budget despite constraints on revenue collection in the wake of COVID-19 pandemic. Niti Aayog Vice Chairman Rajiv Kumar welcomed the budget and said that it focuses on development and reviving the economy. This is All India Radio giving you the world news.
The Myanmar military has seized power in the country. The civilian head of the government, State Councillor Aung San Suu Kyi, and several other leaders of the ruling National League for Democracy have been arrested in Myanmar early in the morning today. A report from our Dhaka correspondent.
Following days of tension and apprehension, the Myanmar military Tatmadaw today seized power from the civilian government headed by Aung San Suu Kyi. The military arrested Aung San Suu Kyi, President Win Myint, and other senior leaders of the ruling party National League for Democracy. In a broadcast from the military-run TV, the Tatmadaw announced that the country had been put under emergency for 1 year. It appointed Vice President Min Swe as the acting president, and all powers have been transferred to the Commander-in-Chief Min Aung Hlaing. The military said that the leaders have been detained for committing fraud in the national elections held on November 8 last year. The detentions took place hours before the first meeting of the newly elected parliament was to begin today. In the meanwhile, the US has expressed alarm at the arrest of the civilian leaders in Myanmar. A statement issued by the White House said that the US is monitoring the situation closely. The US has urged the military to release the detained leaders. It warned that it will take action against those responsible if these steps are not reversed. Aung San Suu Kyi had taken over as the head of the civilian government in 2015 after a long period of military rule in Myanmar. In the November 8 national elections held last year, NLD registered a landslide victory over the military-supported USDP. However, USDP challenged the outcome, alleging mismanagement and lack of transparency. It called for re-election. Rajesh Jha, World News, All India Radio, Dhaka.
India has voiced concern over the developments in Myanmar. The Ministry of External Affairs MEA said in a statement that India has always been steadfast in its support to the process of democratic transition in Myanmar. It said that rule of law and the democratic process must be upheld. The UN condemned the ongoing developments in Myanmar. The United Nations Secretary General Antonio Guterres has condemned the arrest of the civilian government authorities and taking over the control of the country by the military in Myanmar. In a statement released by the spokesperson of the Secretary General, he voiced grave concern regarding the declaration of the transfer of all legislative, executive and judicial powers to the military. He said these developments represent a serious blow to democratic reforms in Myanmar. Endorsing the results of the November 8 union elections, the Secretary General urged the military leadership to respect the will of the people of Myanmar and adhere to democratic norms. He urged to resolve any differences through peaceful dialogue. The UK Prime Minister Boris Johnson has also condemned the Myanmar coup and imprisonment of Aung San Suu Kyi. He said that the vote of the people must be respected and civilian leaders released. The US also expressed alarm at the arrest of the civilian leaders in Myanmar. A statement issued by the White House said that the U.S. is monitoring the situation closely. The U.S. has urged the military to release the detained leaders. The U.S. has said that it opposes any attempt to alter the outcome of the recent elections and warned that it will take action against those responsible if these steps are not reversed. China parried questions on condemning the military coup in Myanmar on Monday. In a cautious reaction, Chinese Foreign Ministry said they have noted what happened in Myanmar and we are learning more information. Foreign Ministry spokesperson Wong Wenbin told a daily press briefing in Beijing on Monday, "We hope that all sides in Myanmar will properly handle their differences under the constitutional and legal framework and maintain political and social stability."
President of the Republic of Maldives, Ibrahim Mohammed Soli, got his first shot of the made-in-India Covishield vaccine earlier today. In a tweet, the Prime Minister said that he just got his first shot of the Covishield vaccine. He expressed optimism that everyone in the country gets inoculated soon. India shipped its first consignment of COVID vaccines to the island nation last Wednesday. Speaking to All India Radio in an exclusive interview, the High Commissioner of India to Maldives, Sanjay Sudhir, had expressed optimism on the way that Maldives has coped with the COVID challenge.
I must say that Maldives has done a wonderful job of dealing with the pandemic. They are fully prepared to roll it out, and with the help of Government of India, there have been a lot of capacity building sessions. For instance, on January 19th and 20th, there were long sessions between the health authorities in Maldives and the Ministry of Health and Family Welfare on our side, where the practical aspects of the rollout were discussed between experts so that when the rollout happens in Maldives, it is smooth.
In response to a question on the request from the Maldivian government to India for the vaccines, High Commissioner said that the initial lot of 100,000 doses of Covishield vaccine was given as gift and there have been further requests.
In the initial lot, Government of India has provided as a gift from the Government and people of India to the Government and people of the Maldives 100,000 doses of Covishield vaccine, which is based on research by AstraZeneca and produced by Serum Institute. As far as next lots are concerned, we have already received a request of 300,000 doses of vaccine at Government of India rates, followed by another 300,000 doses at commercial rates. As far as timing is concerned, this is something which we will look at very shortly.
On India's support to Maldives, apart from the supply of vaccines, the High Commissioner highlighted the multifaceted support being extended to Maldives by India.
COVID indeed has been a very dark part of Maldives' history, has had a huge impact not only at the humanitarian level but also at the level of denting their economy. Right from the start of COVID pandemic, India has worked very closely with Maldives in dealing with the pandemic. Among all neighbors, Maldives was the first and one of the largest beneficiaries of our COVID-related assistance. This includes assistance in evacuating Maldivian nationals from Wuhan, supply of essential medicines and food items, and also deployment of a 14-member rapid response team consisting of doctors and paramedics. Very early on last year, just when the pandemic started in March. When international borders were closed due to the pandemic in April 2020, Operation Sanjeevani was launched to meet the medicine requirement of Maldives. Under this operation, a special Indian Air Force plane airlifted 6.2 tons of essential medicines and other medical supplies from India to the Maldives. Also, as a part of Mission Sagar, Malé was the first port of call for Indian Navy ship Kesari, which delivered about 600 tons of food items to Maldives in May last year, thus ensuring food security.
Speaking on the emergence of the tourism-dependent economy of Maldives from the pandemic, the High Commissioner said that the country has done remarkably well in this respect.
Maldives has done phenomenally well in this area. Maldives was among the first to open borders on 15 July last year. Since then, there has been a rapid increase in inflow of tourists from various parts of the world. And as you know, so many parts of the world are also closed. So that is inhibiting the flow of tourists into Maldives. But all the same, India has taken the lead, I must say, and I'm very happy to share that for 2020, India was the largest source of tourists for this country, followed by other countries like Russia. The tourism sector is fully prepared to receive tourists with full COVID protocols. Their staff is fully trained, and we are very happy to say that once tourism is back on track, so is their economy, because their economy is very heavily dependent on tourism.
Reaching out beyond its immediate neighborhood, India supplied the first tranche of vaccines to South Africa. In a tweet, External Affairs Minister of India, Dr. S. Jaishankar, said that we are in it together. He said that Made in India vaccines land in Johannesburg, South Africa. The World Health Organization (WHO) team on Monday visited Wuhan Center for Disease Control and Prevention (CDC) as well as Hubei Provincial CDC. The international experts also had in-depth exchanges with local peers on early case samples and study data, as reported by Chinese state media. The team on Sunday visited the Hunan seafood market in Wuhan, the epicenter of China's coronavirus outbreak last year. The seafood market is where the first COVID-19 cases in China were discovered in late 2019 and has since been closed. Meanwhile, a Russian expert, Vladimir Dadkov, part of the WHO mission, said on Monday that they don't plan to take any samples, as reported by a leading Russian news agency. He said it is just the first big visit and further research will be planned during it. A program of research will be drawn jointly with the Chinese side and it will take certain time to implement it, he added. National Health Commission spokesperson also said in a statement that the Chinese side and the WHO team have reached an agreement on future efforts and the two sides will continue to conduct joint research which will involve visiting related disease control and prevention facilities, scientific research institutes and trade markets. The World Health Organization has taken note of the new variants of the SARS-CoV-2 virus reported from countries such as the UK and South Africa. In an explainer, the WHO has said that way in which the new COVID-19 virus variants transmit hasn't changed. Therefore, all the measures we already have in place would still work. Executive Director, WHO Health Emergencies Program, Mike Ryan, explains further.
We were seeing variants. We've seen different viruses, variations. That's what a variant actually means, where the virus has a small variation in its genetic code. It doesn't necessarily mean that the virus behaves any differently. You see that amongst humans all the time. We have slightly different genetic codes. That's why sometimes we look different and we act different. It's exactly the same. It doesn't mean we are fundamentally different. These viruses, these variants are not fundamentally different to the previously circulating strains. They have differences, and those differences may affect the way in which the virus binds to human cells, or it may affect the way in which the virus can reproduce itself successfully in the human body. What it hasn't changed is the way in which the virus transmits. So therefore, all of the measures we already have in place, like hand hygiene and physical distance, and reducing the number of people you're in contact with, and reducing proximity to people, reducing the time you spend with people, wearing masks, ensuring you're in a properly ventilated space, these are the things that will still work.
The European Commission chief Ursula von der Leyen has announced that the pharmaceutical company AstraZeneca will deliver 9 million extra coronavirus vaccines to the European Union EU. In a tweet, the EU chief said that AstraZeneca will deliver 9 million additional doses in the first quarter compared to last week's offer. She said that the company will start deliveries 1 week earlier than scheduled. She added that the company will also expand its manufacturing capacity in Europe. AstraZeneca had reportedly announced a cut in the deliveries of the vaccine that it had promised to deliver in the first quarter earlier. This is All India Radio giving you the news. For quick news updates round the clock, follow us on our Twitter handle @AIR News Alerts.
3 steps to stay protected and stay safe from COVID-19. Wear face mask, 2 gaz ki duri to maintain social distancing, maintain hand and face hygiene.
Fate of 16 Indian sailors on cargo ship MV Anastasia remains in the balance, as China has again denied to give any assurance on the crew change for the ship. The ship has been on anchorage near Kefadian port in northern China since 20th September. 16 Indian crew members on the ship are undergoing immense mental and physical sufferings, and timely medical aid is not being provided to them by local Chinese authorities. The crew told Prasar Bharati that Chinese side has denied the proposal of ship-to-ship transfer of crew and they haven't received any update on it. They appealed to the authorities to help them as the situation is getting worse with each passing day and the crew is in depression. More from our Beijing correspondent.
Hopes for the resolution of the impasse revived after India negotiated the passage of one ship MV Jaganan to Japan on 18 January, which has allowed to move to Japan for crew change by the cargo owner, but the cargo owner of Anastasia HK Holdings has refused to divert it to another port. The decision leaves Anastasia's sailors stranded after already enduring months at sea with medical emergencies and psychological turmoil. Indian Embassy in Beijing has been constantly trying to break this deadlock. Chinese Foreign Ministry said Chinese competent authorities are in close communication with the Indian side, raising practical suggestions of crew change, providing necessary convenience and assistance to the Indian side in accordance with the COVID-19 protocols. They said as far as charterer, whether it will adjust its arrangement will entirely depend on itself. However, crew members feel that despite the humanitarian crisis deepening, Chinese government is not impressing upon the cargo owner to let the ship leave the ports. Technicalities being put aside. They also said that even timely medical help could not be provided to them. Anshuman Mishra for World News, All India Radio, Beijing.
Prime Minister of India Narendra Modi today had a telephonic conversation with his counterpart from Israel, Benjamin Netanyahu. He conveyed his strong condemnation of the terror attack near the Israeli embassy in New Delhi on the 29th of last month. He assured Mr. Netanyahu that India accords the highest importance to the safety and security of Israeli diplomats and premises and would deploy all its resources to find and punish the perpetrators. Both leaders expressed satisfaction about the close coordination between Indian and Israeli security agencies in this context. The two leaders also briefed each other about the progress of the fight against COVID-19 pandemic in their countries and discussed possibilities of further collaboration in this area. The fourth Foreign Office consultations between India and Qatar were held virtually today. Both sides expressed satisfaction that despite the COVID-19 pandemic, they have kept in close touch, including the telephone conversations between Prime Minister Narendra Modi and the Emir of Qatar and the visit of External Affairs Minister to Qatar in December last year. These high-level exchanges gave new momentum to bilateral relations. The Indian side thanked the Qatari side for taking care of the Indian community in Qatar during the pandemic. The Foreign Office consultations provided an opportunity to review the entire gamut of bilateral relations, including political, energy, trade, investments, defense, food security, health security, science and technology, consular, community and cultural issues. Both sides reiterated their commitment to work closely together in these areas and further discussing new areas of cooperation.
Now let us take a look at the major developments around the world as reported in foreign press. Zimbabwe-based ZimLive reports uproar in South Africa as the government shuts illegal immigrants from COVID-19 vaccination rollout. Wall Street Journal has reported that exiled Uyghurs are fearful about China's reach eroding Turkish heaven. Himalayan Times writes that India has proposed to double the healthcare spending in annual budget. The Guardian has reported that Uganda's opposition leader Bobi Wine has called on court to nullify result of presidential elections. According to Sputnik News, an Israeli drone has been shot down above southern Lebanon. The Sydney Morning Herald has reported that Fiji is severely flooded after Cyclone Anna hits it. Washington Post has reported that the U.S. has criticized China for its lack of transparency about how the outbreak unfolded. Moving on to sports, all the members of Indian cricket team have completed their quarantine and cleared all the tests for coronavirus ahead of the test match against England in Chennai. In football, Barcelona defeated Athletic Bilbao 2-1 in the Spanish La Liga on Sunday. In the English Premier League, Liverpool defeated West Ham 3-1 on Sunday. In tennis, Serena Williams recorded a straight set victory over Daria Gavrilova in the Yarra Valley Classic. A quick look at the headlines once again. India announces a budget to provide thrust to a resurgent economy emerging from the pandemic. Markets react positively to Budget 2021. Prime Minister Narendra Modi assures Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu highest importance to safeguard Israeli diplomats. Says perpetrators of terror attack would be punished. Myanmar military seizes power. State Councillor Aung San Suu Kyi detained as military announces emergency for 1 year. World leaders express shock over development in Myanmar. United Nations terms it a serious blow to democratic reforms. Fate of 16 Indian sailors aboard MV Anastasia hangs in the balance as China remains non-committal on crew change for the ship. India is celebrating the 151st birth anniversary of Mahatma Gandhi. Before we end, let us listen to his favorite bhajan, Vaishnava Jan, by artists from Maldives. And with that, we end this bulletin. See you at same time tomorrow with the next edition of World News.